Hello everyone, I hope you're all doing well. In this video we will be discussing about handling files in Python. So let's get started. We know that usually we open file in Python in order to either read data from the file or write data into a file or append the data into a file. So that's the reason that usually we are opening a file in Python. Now let's discuss about syntax of if you want to open a file for writing the report or reading the report out of a file, then what will be the syntax? So usually when we want to open a file, we use open function, and this open function needs two arguments or two parameters. The first one will be the file name, which file you want to open, and then the mode of the file. The mode of the file says that if you want to open this file, for what purpose you want to open it, whether you will open it for reading purpose, for writing purpose, or for appending purpose. That's what mode of a file means. Once you're opening a file, and then here you will give a file handler. This file handler will work like a key. When you open this file, then you will give the key to that file. Using this key, you can read the file or can write into a file. Now let's discuss more about the file name. How can we provide the file name to a Python? See, for providing a file name, since our Python file and the file that we need to open may be in the same folder or it may be in different folders. So that's why Python supports both relative paths and also absolute paths. So first, let's discuss an example for absolute relative path. How can we open a file using relative path? Just imagine that the file that I'm now opening is in the same folder with the Python file that I'm working on. So the first thing I will give a file handler, then I will give the name of the open function, and then I will just write the name of file. For example, the name of file is humanity, and then I will not discuss more. So just since this file and the file that I'm working in Python is in the same folder, and now I'm using relative path, so I can open it like this. Now if I run it, won't be any error. So I have opened this file. But let's see and discuss if my file is in the different folder from the Python file that I'm working on. For example, I want to open a file inside this uh, folder, which is C and then users del document, and I want to use absolute path. One thing that I have just copy pasted this one from C, since I'm using Windows, and Windows, you know that for pathing, Windows uses backward slash. So if I want to open a file from this folder, then I need to, if I use absolute path, how I will do it. I will again use fh or file handler is nothing but open, then I will give the name of file. See, when I'm providing the file name, I need to first provide the path. I will just copy paste here. And one thing that I need to mention that in Python we are just providing forward slash. Just since I was using Windows, it was backward slash. I need to change all to forward slash. And here I need to provide my file name. My file name is array.cpp. That's a file which is inside documents folder. Now if I want to run this one, see, it's already open. If I want to be sure, I will just write fh read, and you will see this is the file that I have opened. This is a C++ file. So this was how we can provide a file name. Now let's discuss about the mode of file. So since I told you when we are opening a file, that we can open a file for reading purpose. So this, if we are going to open a file for reading purpose, we will replace this mode with R. If you want to open a file for writing purpose, we will replace with W. And if we want to replace it with appending, we will replace it with A. And also this R plus means read and write. W plus means write and read. A plus means append and read. Now let's discuss more about read mode. So if you want to open a file in read mode, what will be the different cases or scenarios? So let me open is the file that just now I opened it using relative paths, and the other file is in the same folder with the Python file that I'm working. So first thing we will give open function, and then I will give the name of the file, humanity, and then here I'm providing the mode, which is read mode. One thing that I need to mention as a comment here, if I want to write a function like this, and I give humanity, and if I do not provide any mode, like here I have provided R mode and here I have not provided any mode, the default mode is always read. So if I do not provide this R also, it will work the same. So this code and this code is now the same, since if the default mode for every file will be read. So now if I run this code, my file will be open in the reading mode. So now if I have opened it in the reading mode, now let's discuss more about it. If I want to read the entire file, what will I do? If I want to read the entire file, then I will say content. I'll take another variable, and then I will use this file handler fh.read. This function will read all the files and it will put inside this variable. Now if I want to print, I can print it. Print content. See, if I run it, this is the file which I have it inside humanity. This is the file humanity. This was the content of this file. Now the second case is if I want to read the line, this file line by line. I do not want to read all the contents, but I want to read it only line by line. So let's discuss what will I do. So first I need to close also this file. So the second case, I want to read it line by line. What will I do, or how I will do? If I want to read this file line by line, then I will use a for loop. I will say for line in file handler, and then I will print. So in this print, I will print line number also. For example, I will say this line number 1, and then I will say print line. So if I run it, see, it's sorry. So I have just mentioned 1. So it's this line number 1 again, 1 again. Just it's the beginning of the line. Just so I wanted to show that it is printing based on different lines. If I want to print line by line, this will be how I will do. The third case is if I do not want to print line by line, but I want to print, for example, 100 characters or 10 characters out of the complete file. Then how I will do, I will open a file and then I will say, for example, I want only some of the characters. I will say print, and then I will say file handler dot read. For example, I want only 20 characters. If I now run it, see, it's just printing me 20 characters, not more than that. So if I provide here a specific character, that it will not read the whole file. It will read the number of characters that I have specified here. So this was reading a file. Now let's come and discuss about writing in a file. We know that if I open a file with the W mode, it will write the data into a file. Now let's discuss an example for this one. For example, if I'm opening uh, uh, one thing that I need to mention, that in reading mode, if I'm going to open a file, for example, sample file, and this file doesn't exist. If I want to open the same file in reading mode, it will give error, file not found error. See, if I run it now, see, it's giving file not found error. So if I open a file which does not exist in reading mode, it will give us file not found error. But if I'm opening the same file with W means writing mode. This file doesn't exist, but I'm opening it with W. What does W means? Let me explain it more. If you are going to open a file with W mode, means that you are going to open a file and overwrite the already data. Whatever data which will be inside the file from previous, it will be removed, and the new data that you are writing now, it will be written. This is the first case. The second case, if this file doesn't exist completely. If this file exists, it will remove its previous data and it will write the new data. If this file doesn't exist, then it will create this file. It will not give the error that just now it gave, well, such as reading mode. So now if I open this file for reading purpose, and then I will say fh dot write. For example, I want to just write something new. For example, this is the first FIR first sentence. This is the first sentence. And then I have always remember that when you are going to write into a file, always close that file. So that, see, this file didn't exist. This Python created this file for me, and now just wrote this into that file, and now I could close the file. Now let's discuss. So I can write a string into a file. This is the how I can write a string inside a file, and also I can write formatted string inside a file. You know what do we mean by formatted string? Let me open this file again in this writing mode, and then I want to write, for example, inside this I want to write, for example, name is equal to Ahmad. So I will say name, and then I do not want here to be written again name. I want this name to be replaced by Ahmad. So that's why I will use formatted string. I can write formatted string also inside a file using this. And then I can also write to a file using print function. So now I was writing to a file using write function in Python. I can also do the same thing using print function. So let's discuss that also. If I want to use, instead of this, I want to use print function, then here I will use another parameter called file, nothing but fh. I'm giving this fh as a file. If this will do the same as this one. There is no difference with the write and print function. Now, if I run this one, it will be the same. So what it is, yes, sorry, because if it was if each dot print, so print is function. See, it's doing the same thing. Now, one thing that I need to mention again, here we had an append mode also. If I do not, now if I'm using this write and W mode, it will remove previous data. But if I do not want to remove the previous data and I want to add, for example, at the end of that data, then I have to open this file in appending mode. Appending mode, what it will do, this will not remove the previous data of this file, but it will keep those data also, and it will write this data at the end of the previous data. So that's the difference between append and the write mode. Now if I run it, this one, it will all work the same. So you can do it fh.write also. Now if I write it, it will work the same thing. So for fh.write, I do not need this one. If I run it, it will work the same. Now if you open the file, this exists. And finally, we will be discussing about some file methods. The first file method that we will be discussing is tell. This method will tell us where our cursor is inside a file. For example, let me open a file in reading mode. And the same file, for example, I had humanity. I'm opening in the reading mode, and then if I want to read only, it is 100 characters. So I do not want to read all its data. I want to only read some 100, it's 100 characters, and I will say print, and then I will say file 100 dot read me only it's 100 characters. See, it has read only 100 characters. Now, if I ask the Python that where our cursor is, surely it will tell that our cursor is in 100 characters, because the next time if I want to read, it will read after this one. See, if I want to read for example, only two or three more characters. For example, I want to read only 5 characters more. See, it will not see, it was human, it is reading only after this one. So it means that it's important to us to know where the our cursor is. Now if I want to print that one, I will say print, and then I will say file handler dot tell. This function will tell me where the cursor is. See, it's telling me that cursor is in the character number 100 or 105. Now the next function that I will be discussing is the seek function. This function, the function seek, or let me come here. Yes, the seek function is used to change this cursor. For example, here my cursor is in the character number 105. I want to read it from the beginning. See, I read it here 5 character. It was not reading from the beginning. It was reading from where it has stopped. If I want to read it again from the beginning, then I want to change the cursor. If I want to change the cursor, then I can use seek function. Seek function has two arguments. The offset, it just tells me how many characters I need to move, and this one tells me from whether I need to move from the beginning of the file, from the current position of the cursor, or from the end of the file. So if this value is 0, it shows that I need to move this much characters from beginning of the file. If this is 1, for example, now my character is in my cursor is in character number 105. Then if I here put 1 and here I put 100, means it should go from 105 to 100 character away from. So the next one will be 205. If there is this 2, means that it should go, or its source may be the end of the file, and from end of the file only we can come backward, so it should have minus value. So this seek function is just to check or change our cursor. Now if I want to again change my cursor, then I will see fh seek, I will say go from the beginning of the file and go to the beginning of the file. Now, if I read it again, for example, read me, for example, only 100 characters, and then I want to print this one so that we can see what it's printing. I'm just checking whether it will print the same from the beginning of the file. Yes, see, it's printing me beginning of the file. Why? Because using seek function, we told that from beginning of the file, you should go to the beginning of the file. So that's what this function was doing. This was the end of our session. Thanks for watching. If you like the video, please subscribe and like the video.